GNT Show is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. These are the voyages of the GNT Show. Our continuing mission to explore Star Trek storytelling, to seek out new worlds and interesting characters, to bold we got where no show has gone before. Live long and prosper, bitches.
Alrighty.
And we're back.
We are back.
And we got a new donation.
Oh, we did?
Sweet.
Lovely. We didn't even pick a new gift. Somebody else's turn. Who gets to choose? We have a pop-up book. We have the posters. We have the costume book, the beautiful costumes book. What else do we have? More calendars and Skeletrex and all sorts of stuff. Oh, we even have a beautiful puzzle. So
I'm kind of torn. I kind of want to the costume book and the pop-up book. I'm kind of like, so I'm saving my donation for one of those.
See, we
Mike, you can't win.
No.
No.
Damn.
You can donate though.
Yeah.
I was planning to anyways, but okay.
So yeah, I think let's pick Nick. What do you think? The pop-up book or the costume book?
Oh, the costume book.
Okay. So we do have a beautiful sealed copy of Star Trek Costumes, 50 Years of Fashion from the Final Frontier by Terry Erdman and Paula Block. It's a spectacular
Who were our first
art
guests
book.
tonight on
Yeah, they
the
were.
marathon.
Spectacular art, quality paper. It's just beautiful, beautiful history book of all of the costumes used throughout Star Trek,
And we
even
also,
into the new movies. Yeah.
we also have an autographed cover of the book that we can include, can't we?
Yes.
Oh yeah, easily, very easily. As a matter of fact, I'll probably be slipping a couple of those into other gifts that are going out
Cool.
throughout the
Yeah.
night. So,
Kirsten, have you seen this book?
No, but I can't wait to get it. I was just sitting here going, can I donate? Is it too late? Are they going to do the costume? Because I can't wait to get that book.
We
It's
met them.
beautiful.
We met them in Vegas, and they are the most awesome couple.
they're so precious.
And
It's
by
my
the end of
understanding
the
they're the nicest people on the planet.
Seriously.
And by the end of the interview, I had to ask them because they sat there holding hands, and had to ask them, okay, what's the secret?
yeah,
Because they're
so
like
cute.
teenagers.
Did they give you an answer?
Oh yeah, and then Doug Drexler and his wife did this. His wife, Doug Drexler's wife.
Dorothy, she kicks ass. I just have to say, Dorothy.
He
kicks
would have
ass.
talked to us for 8 hours. She finally was like, "We have to go. We have a plane."
We have a plane to catch. We have a flight to catch. Oh my god, it was so cute. It was so cute.
Because we had said to him like a half an hour into the interview with Doug Drexler, we were like, "We know you're very busy, blah blah," and he was like, "I'm not done. Well, we'll
Don't
be
cut me
done
off."
when I say we're done." And we were like, "Well, when the Academy Award winner says he's not done, then he's not done."
not done. That's right.
We're not playing you off the stage.
I had only asked them for 5 minutes of his time.
That's true. We just want 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and we got a full hour and 10. I think it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. But his wife was just rolling her eyes through the whole thing. It was so cute. But Terry and Paula are wonderful, but the book
Yeah.
is beautiful. It's so, so pretty.
Yeah, the bits I've seen of it, I'm just dying. I can't wait to get it. I'll
They
probably get it for
researched the
Christmas.
hell out of it. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Just amazing. Oh my god. So we're all the way through half of our show. We're coming up on, I think we're 29 minutes away from our third temporal anomaly. Really. We didn't really count Central Time, did we?
It doesn't
who's
matter
there?
anymore.
Yeah, that's okay. Who was there? Larry was there for a little bit.
Jen.
Yeah.
I don't know. My eye is twitching at this point.
Like in that Inspector, what was his name?
Clouseau.
But in the Clouseau movie, but he's Dreyfus. That's
Dreyfus.
it, Dreyfus. Oh man, that was hilarious. His whole face would twitch. I love those. Is that how it is, Nick? Are you there yet?
I don't know.
So what do we have on schedule? I mean, it's lovely.
This is our time, right?
Is it?
Oh.
Okay.
I'm late. I need
For a very
to.
important date.
I need to get Skype working.
We
that's
actually
right,
had a
that's right, we have
guest,
somebody.
I think.
Yes. We Mark Cushman.
Oh shit!
Oops.
See how we are? See, it's a temporal anomaly. Threw us all off, right?
Yes.
We can blame Larry.
We can blame him.
I just realized. So yeah, I'm working on this.
Should I go?
No,
You're welcome
You
to
don't
stay
have. You're
as
welcome
long
to
as you
stay.
want.
You're welcome to hang.
we've waited so long to have you
Unless
live
you
on the show
really
with
need
us.
to write. I don't want to say,
Yeah,
go
we don't
and
want to get you
write.
fired.
I don't want to get you fired. Exactly.
Yeah, it was fun writing those Voyager books until the GT show came along.
Usually we have the G&T bump. You know about the G&T bump, right?
I do not.
Dayton,
Yeah.
not a New York Times bestseller, comes on our show. Boom. David, Mac, boom. David R. George, boom. Swallow, boom.
Had nothing to do with the quality of the books that they wrote.
Post hoc,
was us.
ergo propter hoc. Oh yeah.
G&T bump. Well, Kirsten, did you read and or see The Martian? The
Do you
Martian?
have him there?
I did.
Abortion.
Both.
Martian. Mark?
Have you guys talked about it?
A little bit earlier, but no. What were your thoughts on either or whatever you read or watched?
Well, so I had known about the book for a while and just hadn't gotten to it, but I had it on my Kindle for 6 months. And then the movie came out, and I started seeing the trailers and was like, oh, God, I can't wait to see this movie. So I have to read the book, because I'm one of those people if the book exists, I got to read it first.
Just a moment. Mark, are you there? Hello?
Boost the game. Reroute through the EPS conduits.
Don't cross the streams.
Shall I go up the Jeffries tube?
Hey, what you do
Oh
with Terry
my.
is your own business.
Buy me dinner first.
Hello, Mark. We may be experiencing technical difficulties.
That's okay.
That's okay, Uhura.
Yeah.
So you read the book first?
Yeah, so I devoured the book. It took a day and a half to read the book.
I heard it's an easy read.
It is, and it's really, 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 really good. I mean, really, really good.
I don't know. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
know
yeah,
you just
so
keep
I-
talking, Kirsten.
So I read the book, and I absolutely loved the book. Thought it was fantastic. And then I went, the next day, we were going to take Honora to see a movie. And so I made my husband go see the movie with her, and I went to see The Martian, which, never happens, but I put my foot down because I needed to see the movie that bad.
Did he take her to Hotel Transylvania too?
He did.
How
did
did I
when he
know?
It was great. They love those movies because it's a
Yeah.
daddy-daughter thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was all sold out. Every showing of that was sold out in the theater when I went to see The Martian.
So cute.
Yeah. No, that's what they saw, and they loved it. No, I'm lying to you. They had seen that 2 weeks before. They saw Pan.
Oh.
I know, right? But she loved it, which was the point.
Yeah, there you
So-
go.
Yeah.
And he loved it because she loved it. So it was
Okay.
fun.
Good.
I don't think I would have been on board that train.
Yeah.
But the thing about the movie was, okay, so it's always the case. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the book that doesn't make it to the movie.
Right.
But there was so much missing that it really affected my ability to enjoy the film a lot.
See, now,
Aw.
earlier, who was it that we had
It
on
was
talking
Alan.
about it?
Yeah, Alan loved it.
Saying that there wasn't that much missing.
No, I didn't say
There was a
that.
great deal of
I
math
said
missing,
that the
I have
things
to
that
tell
were
you.
missing to me didn't jolt me as much from what the book had, because I realized that there were so many more things that he had to do to overcome his survival and everything that
Mhm.
trying to get that all into a 2 hour to 2.5 hour movie was going to be difficult.
No, I agree, and I'm normally very willing to make allowances for stuff like that. But then there were moments that they did use that they kind of messed up that also still kind of threw me. So the moment in the book where you get the news or stuff?
No, I've seen the movie, so go ahead.
So the point in the movie where you get the news that the Hermes crew is going to go back.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's that Ron Purcell, is that the character's name? Ron Purcell is a steely-eyed missile man.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's the message that they sent. So in the book, you've got a little bit of intro of the character who's going to get that information. And then you've got everybody reacting to the fact that the Hermes has changed its trajectory and they don't know why. And so there's like this quick back and forth between people, like, what the hell's going on? Why are they moving? Somebody get them on the phone. Somebody, like, automatically send up the correct coordinates and fix this. And then there's this sort of silence, and then you get the line from them. And all they say is, Ron Purcell's a steely-eyed missile man. And because the book left you in suspense before about whether or not they were going to actually decide to go. And in the movie, it was like 2 seconds of the guy, and then you see that line on the screen, and then like everybody is confused for a minute, and then we move on. And I'm like, to me, that moment in the book like blew me away. It was completely amazing. And in the movie, I practically missed it, just because of the way they staged it.
Hello, we have Mark. Mark, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent.
Mark.
Hey, Mark. We also have Kirsten Beyer with us, who's the author of the Star Trek Voyager novels. She's been with us now for like an hour.
So she's hanging with us, and Mark Cushman for our listeners, the wonderful author of Star Trek: These Are the Voyages, volumes 1, 2, and 3.
A man crush.
Well, I don't know if I'm wonderful, but the books are.
Well, there's no doubt about that. How are you, sir? It's been a long time.
I'm good. How long have you all been doing this? Have you been up
Since
for a long
noon
time?
Eastern time.
Yeah, we're on hour 13.
No, at least 2 weeks.
17. Taking no dose?
We're on
Are
hour
we
17?
on 17?
Hour 17.
No, 15.
9 a.m.
They all blur together eventually.
We're almost on hour 16, right?
Oh, we started at 10.
Going into hour 16.
We're going into 16. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're about to restart another hour here because we've all had the fallback thing
We've been Brian and Braga at every hour.
Exactly. We're time traveling every 2 o'clock in every time zone. So we're about to.
Remember
hit that
when this
here in
sounded
Mountain
like such a good idea when we told you about it in Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right. Nobody's listening at this hour. No, it's okay.
You'd be surprised. We've had at least 12 to 13 people in our chat room the entire time.
No
It's been
kidding.
very nice.
Yeah.
We have 15 in there now,
right now.
And we're almost at $1,000.
and we're very happy.
All right.
Thank you for the people who have been donating.
I haven't done a shot in a while, though.
And oh no, you haven't. You haven't done the shot again. If somebody donates $100, Nick does a shot of vanilla vodka. Oh,
Yes.
mama.
Oh God, you're never going to make it for 24 hours doing that.
I've only had like 3 shots.
I know. It's nothing. So I'm really hoping that people wake up and start donating big money.
You
It would be
bastards.
hilarious.
You need a couple more shots.
And this hour, we're to the largest donation during the hour. They get a copy of the new beautiful Star Trek costumes book, the one that Terry and Paula wrote. So it's been
Fantastic.
awesome. Yeah, we're having a good time. So how are things, my dear?
Everything's good. I'm up in the mountains
Oh, nice. Which ones?
in California.
Oh, okay.
Fraser Park area up in California.
Okay.
And it's
Right on.
beautiful up here. And we're supposed to have snow Monday, I think.
Nice.
Should be nice.
Very nice. Well, hopefully
I
that
don't-
means
I
that
don't
we'll
know.
get some of
I
that
haven't
too.
been in snow in about since I was a kid, so we'll find
Really?
out.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, hopefully
grew up
that
where
means
you-
that we'll get it here afterwards. That would be nice.
Yeah, I grew up on a dairy farm. I used to have to go out in the snow and fix fences that had come down and bring the cows back in and all that. So, but I don't have to do that now. I can just sit and look out the window and watch it as I write. It'll be good.
As you write, what would you be writing right now?
Right now, I'm putting the finishing touches on the second book on Irwin Allen. It's a 2-book set, one on Voyage of Honesty and one on Lost in Space, but it covers his early career, which nobody's ever touched. I know there's a couple fan books out there on these shows, but this is the first one that really gets deep. And I've had access to his private papers collection. I've gone through, of course, the UCLA collections and everything else, and a lot of collectors that have contributed a lot of things. So we're going to find out what really made him tick.
Now,
And I found out I busted another bit of Star Trek folklore. You know how Gene Roddenberry always said that he went into CBS to pitch Star Trek, and he did with Oscar Katz in mid '64, and CBS listened to his pitch and they said, "Well, thank you, that's great." And they picked his mind, found out all the things they needed to know to do a science fiction show, according to Gene, and picked his mind. And then they said, "But thank you, we have one of our own called Lost in Space." Well, in all my deep research, and I already knew everything about Star Trek, but now I'm finding out about this other show. Irwin Allen hadn't even come up with the idea for Lost in Space when Gene was in there pitching to CBS. Matter of fact, at that point, Irwin was trying to sell CBS a series called Swiss Family Robinson, which was just going to be based on the book. And after Gene went in and told them about Star Trek, they came back and said, "Can you do something different with it?" And his partner from Red Skeleton's company that he was in partnership with on Space Productions, later called Space Productions, corresponded with him, with some letters going back and forth, and they came up with the idea to take Swiss Family Robinson into outer space. So Gene wasn't being honest when he told that story. to me and to convention crowds and everybody else. And so,
do you think he told himself that, and that's how he remembered it?
Possibly. I think that's what happened with Oscar Katz, because Oscar Katz decades later said it too, because he had heard Gene say it so many times that you start to think that's the truth. I mean, they did go in and pitch to CBS. It was a long meeting with a lot of executives, and at the end of it, they said, "Thank you, but no thank you." But it wasn't because they had Lost in Space. Lost in Space hadn't even been created yet. That happened 3 months later. And so I think it was really about not wanting to admit that they had just fumbled with CBS, that they went in and pitched and couldn't interest them. So it made a better story to say, "Oh, well, Irwin Allen beat us there."
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is. I love turning over stones and finding the truth, even if it's with somebody that I admire and like and work for. But everybody lies now and then, and everybody's got their pride and their ego, and over the decades, as you just said, you can start to believe this stuff, and that's one of the dangers of fibbing, as you can start to believe it.
Well,
the worst thing about telling lies is you have to remember them. So it's better to just tell the truth. Huh?
Yeah, it's just easier.
Well, I know Mike had something he wanted to share with you because he's quite upset.
Did he lie too? What?
No.
What was that?
About the idea.
The network?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
During our last interview, we had talked about the idea of our own cable network. Well, tonight they MGM and Sinclair Broadcasting launched Comet TV, which is a science fiction fantasy channel that currently has all of MGM's library attached to it, so movies and films and television shows, and potentially they will be adding to it. But it was very close to what we were discussing during our last interview, and I was heartbroken to hear about it. Although I'm pleased that there is a science fiction and fantasy channel now, but yeah.
It saves us the work. We're busy enough as it is.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're just locked into the MGM library, so it's going to be rather limited. What we were talking about is, what Sci-Fi Channel used to be, and there should be a channel like this on TV, on cable, that shows just the history of science fiction, old TV shows and old movies, and then has a call-in show and a biography show where they can do little biography segments on people from the science fiction world and things of that nature. And I haven't seen that. And so, on cable, there's room for everything. My God, look, anytime anything's done on TV, you get 20 imitations of it. That's what TV's all about, is imitating and copying itself.
Yeah.
True.
So we could still do it, and we could be the ones who do it right.
Good point.
Now, Airstone, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Just so you know, Mark is the author of These Are the Voyages, which is like the definitive 3-volume set about the original series, and puts a lot of myths to rest, about the ratings. But he also wrote the episode Sarek.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. I wrote
I've
the
just been
version that
listening,
didn't air.
absolutely fascinated, so I'm all good.
Right on.
Sorry, I had a lag. I think my computer's yelling at me for being on so long.
Probably. I've got a mouthful of chocolate. I'm trying to stay awake.
I'm surprised we've all lasted so long.
Well, the hard part really
How much
hasn't
longer
hit.
do you have?
Speak for yourself. I'm a
How much
hologram.
longer do you have to go?
Till noon
9
Eastern.
a.m.
Are
Pacific.
you just going to keep? Okay. So till tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. you got to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So another
Yeah.
8 hours or so. Okay,
Exactly.
you can do that.
It's 9 hours, isn't it?
It's like 9 hours.
9 hours.
Yeah, because I'm on the West Coast and it's 12:49 now, so that's almost 8 hours. But we're going to lose an hour.
We lose an hour or gain it. Yeah,
Fuck.
exactly.
Or gain an hour
We have
in a
to
minute,
relive an hour.
Now I'm doing math like Nick.
So
Temporal anomalies. Gotta
it's
love
gonna
them.
be a
I
long
really wish
night.
we could get Brandon Braga in here for the Temple Anomalies.
It would so be great.
So how's the Irwin Allen book going? Because I know you were excited about this when we talked to you in Vegas.
Yeah, it's been the first one's done, and the second one I'll have done in a few weeks, and then I get back to the fourth Star Trek book. These are the Voyages 4, which is going to take us from the cancellation of the first series up to the point where Gene Roddenberry signs the contracts to do Next Generation. And I've got all the files, all the memos and everything else from the first year of Next Generation. So if I want, I can swing into that for 2017, which will be the 30th anniversary already.
Wow.
Wow.
We want to do these Irwin Allen books because nobody really ever done a proper book on Irwin Allen or his TV shows. And the thing is if there hadn't been a Voyage to the Sea, and if there hadn't been a Lost in Space, there wouldn't have been a Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because even though Irwin didn't beat Gene to CBS, Voyage went on in fall of '64 and was winning its time slot, and then Lost in Space went on in fall of '65 and was winning its time slot, and that's what got NBC to finally say, okay, we'll do it. And NBC actually had Star Trek on their first draft schedule for fall of '65. It was going to be on Friday nights from 7:30 to 8:30, but then they decided to reject The Cage, and so they took it off the schedule. They made Where No Man Has Gone Before, and then they put it back on the schedule for fall of '66. So Irwin beat them, and with the success of his shows, that gave NBC the courage to do it. You got to remember that back then, not only did nobody think that you could do a 1-hour science fiction series each week, half a science fiction movie, with that type of budget, with those type of effects and everything else, but they didn't think there were enough people out there to watch it, to make it worthwhile, to make Madison Avenue happy. And so when Voyage was winning its time slot, and then Lost in Space was winning its time slot, then everybody knew, okay, we can make it go. And that's what made NBC put it on.
We make things go.
Somebody's got to be first. Somebody's got to stick their neck out first. And Irwin was the guy that did that. And so he's never really gotten his due. He created good shows. And as I found out in my research, the reason his shows turned bad wasn't because he was crazy or he wanted to change his series. It's because he was doing what the networks wanted him to do. They found out on Voyage every time they did a monster story, because Voyage started out mostly espionage stories and things of that nature. And every now and then they would sneak in something that was really deep science fiction or a monster tale. And when they did that, the ratings would go up even higher. And then several weeks later, they'd do another one, and the ratings would go up even higher. So ABC said, hey, go with it. Let's start doing it every week like this. And then over on CBS, they're doing Lost in Space, and they're doing it serious, in black and white, very cinematic, and pretty scary for little kids. And CBS decided it was too scary for little kids, and they didn't like seeing the children, the young Robinson children, put into peril. So they kept fighting Irwin and saying, you can't do this. We don't want you doing it. You're on from 7:30 to 8:30, the family hour. Plus, you lead into the Beverly Hillbillies, which leads into Green Acres. So if you make the show funnier, we'll have a 2-hour comedy block. And so they were pushing him to change his series, both networks, and he went along with it. Now, Gene Roddenberry wouldn't. Whenever NBC was trying to get him to change Star Trek, he refused. That's why Voyage of Bomb Sea went for 4 years and Star Trek went for 3, because Gene was fighting the network, Irwin wasn't.
Would you agree? I've said for a while that two of the most important producers in television, particularly in the 60s and 70s, were Quinn Martin and Irwin Allen.
Yeah. They were the two most successful, too. See, now it's not unusual for a producer to have 3 or 4 shows on, to become an executive producer and have 3 or 4 shows under his production company. Back then, usually a producer did 1 show and that was it. Quinn Martin was one of the first to branch out and have 3 shows at once running, and then Irwin Allen did it too. So they were moguls.
Because when we were growing up, a Quinn Martin production, that was right. Something when you heard that.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because correct me if I'm wrong. Streets of San Francisco.
He did The Invaders. He had about 3 at once going, and he did several series over the course of a decade. But he had at one point 3 series at one time running, and then, so did Irwin Allen.
And then for good or bad, however you want to look at it, Aaron Spelling kind of picked up that mantle after a while.
In the 70s, yeah, and mostly bad. If you look at Aaron Spelling shows, mostly bad.
Yeah. Well, let's see, Love Boat. Fantasy Island is a solid show.
We have a question from Facebook.
Oh, we do.
For Mr. Cushman. Mr. Cushman, did you ever find Mr. McCarthy eventually?
Mr. McCarthy.
That's the
Mr.
question.
McCarthy.
Yeah. Somebody said, "Did you find Mr. McCarthy?"
So
McCartney. Excuse me.
Oh, Paul McCartney. Oh no. We got right up to the red carpet with him, with Ruth Anson and a camera crew, and she was the one who he had proposed to live on TV in 1965 when she was working for ABC and went in to interview the Beatles at Capitol Records, and they had just done the Hollywood Bowl, and he was stoned, and they all were, and she says, Paul, is there any chance you might be getting married? And he says, only if you'll marry me now, and she took it serious. And then when I met her, decades later, and it's in the movie at the beginning, it's all real, she was pitching at this thing. I was on a panel, and she pitched this script that she wanted to write where she goes and tries to find Paul to find out if he's serious. And I said, well, that's not a screenplay. I said, that sounds more like a standalone reality thing. And we were shooting this thing, and so I pointed to the cameras, and I said, why don't you take a couple of these camera guys with you and go out and bring me the head of Paul McCartney? And she comes up to me after the show, and she says, are you serious? And I said, if you want to, I'll send a camera crew with you and go do it. He's coming to the Grammys. See if you can reconnect with him. And so she got up to the red carpet before they grabbed her. They all had fake press badges that I'd given them. And they grabbed them and threw them all out. And I got a call from the police to come pick them up and everything. But we put her in a therapy session with a psychiatrist. We did an intervention with her family, all caught on tape, all in the show. And to try to find out why she was doing this. This is an Emmy-winning journalist, was at one time, and she's chasing around Paul like a lovesick puppy and trying to find out what's going on. And I'm not going to tell you what we discovered. You'd have to watch the movie. No, so we got real close to him, but it wasn't really about reconnecting, because that'd be like My Date with Drew, if you ever saw that thing. And the guy that did that thing finally got to have a date with Drew Barrymore. But it was anticlimactic. It was actually kind of boring. The thing that was interesting about that movie was his obsessive quest to get to her. And then he sits down and has this nice little lunch with her, and it's like, oh, okay. And really, for me, it was more about why is she on this obsessive quest? What's going on inside of her to do it? I even did a thing, and we shot it and put it in the movie, where I set her up on a lunch with a Paul McCartney imitator, so she could practice on him what she was going to say to the real Paul when she sat down with him. Were you serious about the marriage? No. So it's a strange little movie that we did.
Wow.
Called Desperately Seeking Paul McCartney. That's all
what
it's about.
A trip.
It's
wow. No, I had no idea.
About desperately seeking Paul McCartney. And it's
Such a
a
trip.
study. It's two things. And, people have seen it, either love it or hate it. There's like these really way mixed reviews out there. And the people who hate it don't think it's for real. And I read one review that said, well, this is a put-on, so why isn't it funnier? We left some of the funniest stuff on the editing room floor because we thought if we put that in, nobody's going to believe it. But it was
Right.
it was reality. We were just shooting what was going on. And but it's about two things. It's about fan obsession.
Yeah.
And it's about reality TV. How reality TV really isn't reality because somebody is pulling the strings.
Mhm.
Right.
Everybody you see is real. The situation's real, but you're tossing things in there for them to react to. So it's being manipulated. And that's what all reality TV is.
It's interesting you say that because when I was driving, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to when I'm driving is the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, who, he wrote American Psycho and Less Than Zero. And he's a really smart guy who doesn't shy away from saying what he thinks, and even though most of the business hates him for that. But he was talking about the movie The Wire, about the walk across between the World Trade Center on the tightrope that the guy did, and he talked about how hard it is for film to capture obsession, because sometimes it makes no sense whatsoever, somebody's obsession, like the obsession this guy had for doing this walk for no other reason than to do it. And how obsession is such just a crazy thing.
Right. Well, and we're obsessed about Star Trek. Look at us. But the thing is you look at the Beatles, and John Lennon was killed by an obsessed fan.
Right.
And George Harrison about a decade later got stabbed 40 times by an obsessed fan who broke into his house, and which led to his death.
And most people forget about that.
Yeah, I mean, technically he died of lung cancer, but he was actually in remission. He was actually beating it. And then this guy breaks into his house and stabs him 40 times in the chest. Well, that ain't going to help your lung condition any.
Yeah.
So
and Ringo's
so after
still
that,
healthy.
Paul had yeah, I know. Go figure. And so after that, Paul had immense security. And so the fact that we were able to get to the red carpet with these fake press badges and everything, with the amount of security he had, was rather incredible. Usually the Grammys aren't that tight, but they were really tight that year to get in. It was all because Paul was going to be there.
Isn't it amazing if you think about it? And this is one thing I love about Mark is we can talk about so many things. For a band that really only was on top for about 6 years, the change and everything that the Beatles did, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
You mean as far as
just culture?
Yeah, it's not just music
how,
and
how
fashion.
you can change the world in a short period of time.
Right.
Yeah, they had an 8-year run here in America, but they had another 2 years in England. They started, their first hit was in '62, and their last hit right before they broke up was in 1970. So it was about a little less than an 8-year run. From the first hit to when they broke up, and yet it totally changed the world, and we all know about them, and it was 50 years ago,
It's
or 40 years ago they broke up.
Yeah,
it's incredible. But then look at Star Trek,
right?
We're 49 years now. We're coming up on the 50th, and you'd have to go to Timbuktu to find somebody who hasn't heard of Star Trek, or San Diego. You could go see my mother. My mother was always saying, when are you going to write something that I can watch? And this was like 1990 or 91, I forget. But I said, on Saturday night there's a Star Trek Next Generation I did, and she says, "Oh, is that the show about a spaceship or something?" Yeah, Mom, it's been on for like 20 years now. So I guess you don't have to go to Timbuktu. You can just go down to San Diego, and you'll find somebody who doesn't know much about Star Trek.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that just that magical thing when you get the right people that come together, and you had it with the Beatles, and with Star Trek you had it with Gene Roddenberry and Gene Kuhn and Bill Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, and you take any one of them out of the equation, and it's not the same show. And if it had happened at a different time in history, it wouldn't have been the same show. One of the things that I do in the books, as you guys know, is we go through the scripts, and you find out where they came up with all the ideas, why they would do that specific episode. You find out that the reason they did Spock's brain is because a couple weeks before, was the first heart transplant, and it was just big news, and people were out protesting, saying man doesn't have the right to play God and everything. And Gene Roddenberry and Gene Kuhn are watching this on the news, and they look at each other and say, hey, we need to do something with this. And that's where they came up with the idea for Spock's brain, Balance of Terror. Paul Schneider is in meeting with Gene Roddenberry, and he says, I want to do something like Run Silent, Run Deep, or The Enemy Below, the submarine movie. And he says, well, okay, but Gene would always say, what's the theme? What do you want to talk about? That's the mechanical way you want to do the story. What's the theme? He said, well, I want to talk about what's happening in Vietnam, how the Viet Cong can come over the border into South Vietnam and hit our bases, and then they'll run back over the border, and we can chase them, but we can't go further than that line in the ground. We have to stop. And so if we don't catch them while they're on our side of the border, on the South Vietnam side, if they get back into North Vietnam, then we can't pursue them. And so what if we take that idea and mix it with The Enemy Below and turn it into a Star Trek episode? And he says, yeah, great idea. And they did it. So just about every episode they did was coming right out of the headlines, right out of the newspaper, the things that were happening in that era. And it made these fantastic, great, timeless stories that even if you don't know what inspired them, they're still great. In fact,
Kristen,
I think Balance of Terror is way better than The Enemy Below. I finally watched that a few years ago, and I'd always heard about it. Robert Mitchum's the destroyer captain, and Kurt, whatever his name is the submarine captain. And it's these two brave, honorable captains in this battle, and one of them's got to lose. And Star Trek ripped the movie off to do that episode. So I watched the movie, and it's nowhere near as good as Balance of Terror.
Well, and Chris,
it's good, but I was a little bored with it. Balance of Terror is so much better. Shatner is so much better than Robert Mitchum in that movie, and Mark Leonard was so much better than the German commander in that movie. They just brought so much more to the camera and to the audience as far as their characters and the pressure that's on them and the weight that they're carrying on their shoulders is so much bigger that it's a much better drama. So Star Trek would do them better, and that's what makes it a timeless show, and that's why we're still talking about it 49 years later.
Yeah.
And Kristen, that ties in with what you were saying with the current situation between left and right and how that influenced the novels that you did. Did she leave us?
Well, they do that when I start talking.
No, she was lighting up, but it wasn't coming through.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, she's talking now. That's really weird. All right, who muted the author?
It wasn't me.
On me. Because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Oh, Kirsten.
Oh.
Bummer.
Yeah, she was saying, Mark, how her Voyager novel, that how people on the left and people on the right now, they're not meeting in the middle, not
right.
listening to each other, making their own realities. And then, her novel based around that.
It really has kind of gone in such strange directions. I mean, I've been watching these debates, and they're so far apart. The two parties are so far apart. And I've been around for a while now, and so I've seen debates going all the way back to the 60s. And the Republicans would always be a little more this way, and the Democrats would be a little more that way. But now it's so extreme. There's nothing in the middle. And the same thing with the class structure in this country, and probably most Western countries, from the people who have the money and the people who don't. There's no middle class anymore. So it's interesting, if she's used that theme in her book, because it really is striking how it's pulling apart in two different directions.
Well, and part of the point which she was making is they won't even come to the same table to just talk. It's like they're so set in their ways. It's like us versus them. And if I'm a Republican, it's like I'm not even going to listen to what them Democrats are saying. Like, I'm just closed off, and they're not even like attempting to build a bridge to just open dialogue sometimes.
Yeah, and see, I'm a middleman. I'm in the middle, and I don't vote for either party because of what they are. I'm just looking for a good candidate,
exactly,
and a good issue to vote for. And I'm watching these debates, and I'm going, man, you're all such extremists. How can you represent this country? You're so far apart, and nobody's representing the person who's in the middle, which is really where all sane people should be.
I don't disagree.
You know, that's why I say
nothing is black.
Nanbako 2016.
Nothing's that black and white.
Nanbako 20, yeah.
Nanbako 2016.
Yeah.
Bako
Look at what
Jericho.
happens to her.
Nah, you can't get Nan. I think she lost her mind.
Well, see, now,
I'm muting Marv.
This is pure Star Trek, and this is great that she's doing this because this is what Star Trek started out as being, is making social commentary
Right.
by doing it in the future in outer space. And we know the reason it did that, for my books, is that you couldn't do it back then. You couldn't do it on network TV back then. You couldn't talk about political concepts and social concepts of that type in entertainment TV, only in the news division. So Roddenberry had to trick it up. He had to disguise it so that he could talk about racism. He had to make them half black and half white so he could talk about racism and things of that nature. And although he didn't come up with the idea for that particular episode, but Gene Coon did. And so that's the only way they could do that type of commentary. So it's fun that she's doing that in her book, that she's commenting on something that's happening right now and using this future and other people to come back and do it. And that harkens right back to Gulliver's Travels. You know, back then, when Jonathan Swift did Gulliver's Travels, they would chop your hand off. You know, if you said anything against the government, you know, it's like, okay, which hand did you use to write this stuff? And they'd cut it off. So he had to invent this faraway land in order to make commentary on the English class system. Fortunately, they don't cut our hands off anymore.
Yeah.
They just take half your money. Oh, that's divorce. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I've lived through that.
Yeah. It's 3 a.m. here. The bitter trolley's starting to come out of the station.
And we just entered our time our
are you
temporal
in the anomaly?
Yeah,
The Braga Zone.
Are you flying back and forth across the bridge?
We are again.
I still haven't reached that yet. I got another hour to go.
The Enterprise here
David
has
sounds
exploded.
defeated.
Yes.
It's what's to come.
We're waiting for Kelsey Grammer to walk on.
We need LeVar Burton to figure out that we're all stuck in a loop, man.
No, we need Chief O'Brien.
Well, we need Data to give us the number 3, and we automatically know what that means.
Yeah, that's right. It's like what the hell are you doing?
That only works on TV, you guys. It's not going to get you out of this hell that you put yourself into.
I do need a cup of coffee. That would be awesome.
I know.
Yeah, or a power drink or something.
Yeah,
I'm
going to
make
me a cup of coffee. He's being very sweet.
If someone donates $200, I will drink 2 5-hour energy drinks at once.
Oh, dear God.
And then
you'll explode.
I was going to say, and then you will hear me being carted away on the gurney to the ambulance.
I'm going to need you for the rest of the show. That would be very nice. Please.
It's my heart. It comes through my chest. The face hugger, like the face hugger is an alien.
God, you're not going to let me sleep tonight, are you?
Oh, okay. Mike's helping Kirsten.
Oh, okay, cool. That's very sweet. The fact that she's still with us is very sweet.
I know.
Oh my gosh. All right.
She's drunk some energy drinks. She can't hang up.
Well, she did tell us that this is her writing hour, so
yeah,
this is when she usually writes.
She's a mother of a 6-year-old, so her writing is done at night.
Ah.
Yes.
That's why she writes about dark themes.
Yeah. Oh, she writes Voyager, so you know. Oh.
All right, sir. What else?
Do we sound like we're dragging, Mark?
Yeah, we're starting to get there.
I'm just following your lead, man.
You missed Jeopardy, hosted by Alex Trebek Nemechek earlier.
That was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
Which I won, by the way, Mark.
Yes, he did. He kicked our ass.
Well,
he really did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Nick kicked her butt.
Well, I got
he
2
was
right.
Or I should say, what was the answer? And that will tell us what the question was.
Oh, they were all no, they were all really hard.
No, they weren't.
Oh yeah, to me they were. I didn't know.
How did you not get the K's on?
Seriously,
He said Nistrum.
You know what? I didn't hear it. My brain didn't connect. I heard the words and I'm like, what is he talking about?
You know, I just did a visual where I did the wave away, but you can't see it because we're on radio.
I seriously, I didn't even comprehend the words that he was saying. I was like, is he speaking English? Is this Star Trek? Because I really don't understand. It didn't even hit me.
Look, Jeopardy's hard even when you're fresh.
It's okay, Mark. I heard Horta for Vorta, so
he did. He said Jeffrey Combs didn't play this, and he actually
didn't play a Horta.
He said Vorta, and Nick heard Horta, and that just got really funny really fast. The idea of Jeffrey Combs playing
because
Horta.
We don't know Jeffrey Combs didn't play a Horta because that man is a chameleon.
Yeah, he could have played anything except for the fact I don't think he was old enough to have been in TOS.
No.
Even under a blanket that's made to look like rocks, he would still be a great actor.
That's he would be the best Horta ever.
And Mark, we also did a reading because it was Halloween of The Raven.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It was fun.
Oh.
Now, here's a question for you. Of the Treks, they've had several Halloween-like type themed episodes. What would be your favorite of those?
The first one, Cat's Paw.
Yeah.
We should have Kirsten back.
Hopefully.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yay!
Yep.
Yay.
I missed a whole bunch of really interesting stuff, but go on, and then I have a question.
Oh, we were vamping.
Yeah, we were.
Well, go back and tell what you were saying about the two sides, because we tried to reiterate it, but I don't know if we got it exactly right with the right and the left.
Yeah, I was just what interested me was the idea that the Federation seems to be the logical conclusion of sort of liberal or progressive values prevailing culturally, and what would it have looked like had more conservative values had prevailed? So you have a group of people who are every bit as powerful as the Federation, whose reach is every bit as large in their particular area of space, but their values are just not quite exactly ours. And, one of the things I tried very hard to do was make sure that there was a really good reason why they had developed the way that they had. So, their beliefs didn't come out of a vacuum, and they absolutely made sense, organically speaking, in terms of their development. It's just that the path that they had gone along was different from ours, and what happens when those two things come together. So that was really where it all started.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mark?
Yes. Oh, you want me to comment on that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I always saw the Federation as being pretty conservative. It's a military-based organization, so it struck me.
Even in the later series.
In the later series.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that from the original series. Would you say that still applies when you're talking about, by the time we get to Deep Space Nine and Voyager?
No, it did get more liberal at that point. But see, I'm looking at the J.J. Abrams movies, but they're looking back at the original series, and they're playing the Federation as a more conservative outfit as well. So it's kind of
I totally agree with that.
There.
Yeah.
But but see, Star Trek's become all these spinning planets. There's like 6 of them, and they all have their own life, and they all have their own personality, as they should. So it gets hard to really, you have to be really specific, as you're doing with Voyager, to do that. So in that period of time, that particular show, it becomes more of a progressive and even a liberal interpretation. But it sure started off as conservative, and J.J. Abrams has now taken it back there. It's just this last movie with the terrorist stuff and everything else, and just the boardrooms and everything that they're doing. It feels like big government.
Well, and I actually haven't seen Enterprise, but there are a number of folks who have mentioned that Enterprise was sort of going that direction as well. Am I wrong?
It kind of straddled the middle, I would say, because you had like what would be considered like far right people towards the end of it with the Earth First and all of that, but then you had the people that were like, we need to get out and explore and better. So you had kind of the both sides represented, and even with the Vulcans, you had that.
I mean, in some ways, part of the problem here is that there are a lot of things assumed in Trek as settled in terms of everybody being equal and having equal rights and having moved beyond capitalism to, I'm not even sure what you would call it, but the thing is we never see quite how that happened. So I think in some ways it's hard to project where we are now to how we could have possibly gotten there.
Yeah, Jerry.
Sorry, I was trying to math with Alan.
You were what?
I was
trying to nap.
I was trying to math.
Oh, man.
To try to math.
We were trying to figure out how many hours had already had gone by. We've gone through 16 hours and we're in the 17th hour.
Wow.
Well, yeah, we're 16 hours and 20 minutes in.
See, but my brain wasn't comprehending, and I'm trying to add how many hours we had left, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't add up to 25. I don't get it.
We have 7.5 hours left.
So I can't math anymore. I'm not allowed.
I have not changed one of the clocks here, so it says 4:21 a.m. So that way I can do the math.
Oh my God, you cheater!
Yep. I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
I just use the schedule because it's all in there.
Shut up.
Did you figure that? See, I'm
8.5 hours to go.
Oh my God.
7.5.
8.5.
8.5, honey.
Can I make a comment about something that I heard a while ago?
Oh,
sure, of course.
When you guys were talking about the Balance of Terror episode, and how much better that was than the movie upon which the premise sort of grew out of, I actually recently did a rewatch of all of the original series just for my own edification. And one of the things that really struck me was how much time we would spend in a given scene with a bunch of people sitting on the bridge, talking amongst themselves, experiencing the tension of whatever was happening and trying to think their way through a problem.
Yes.
And how that never could happen today.
Right.
But how incredibly refreshing it was to just let those scenes breathe and to spend that kind of time there. And Balance of Terror is another one of those shows that really captured that claustrophobic feel in a way that we just don't allow ourselves to do anymore, and how I was really sad by that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you look at an episode like the Corbinite Maneuver, and the memos from NBC on that one. NBC didn't like that episode, and they were pushing Roddenberry to raise the pace on that because it's too slow. But I love the fact that you get so much more tension because they're stuck there and they're aware of the ticking clock as well. So I think sometimes a simple idea like that can really play very well if you've got good actors, if you've got good characters for those actors to grab a hold of. You don't need a lot of effects and you don't need a lot of movement and a lot of action. You can have a much stronger drama. And it's just like on stage, you know, you can have much stronger drama on stage with a couple actors than anything. I always say that and I know you guys won't want to hear this, but I always feel the bigger the budget is on a movie, the worse it's going to be.
No, that's absolutely, yes.
To a degree, I don't disagree, yeah. I would agree with a lot of that.
If the less money you give them, the better the movie's going to be because they're going to put it into the writing, they're going to put it into the characterizations, they're going to put it into the tension that they're going to build in that room.
Mark.
And you look at a great show like All in the Family, and the entire show just took place in that living room. Every episode was just in that living room. But the characters there was such conflict between the characters that it was very entertaining.
You say that, and just last week we had talked on our show about the producer. He's right now he's got a bomb on his hands with Gem and the Holograms, but who his budgets are no more than $5 million a movie for like the Paranormal Activity and all of that, because his thought is if you put the writing into the characters and the dialogue, and you're not worried about explosions and chases and all of this, you're going to get a great story out of it.
Right.
Did anybody else see the article last week talking about the death of the independent or the mid-level filmmaker at this point in time?
I want to say it was connected to that article, wasn't it, Nick? Something about that? Yeah.
Yeah. And you look at a movie like All the President's Men, or Quiz
I think
Show.
a lot of really
Quiz
great
Show
dramas
is one
are
of my
still made.
absolute favorite movies.
Right.
And there is not I don't even think anybody yells in that movie except for John Turturro, which that's the way he is. But that, it is all the drama of the conflict that they have. It's not conflict as in explosions, but personality.
Yeah.
Right.
It also leads to one of the bigger problems that we are having right now, with trying to translate Star Trek into the modern Star Trek, right? Of dealing with how do you convert modern or Star Trek into something that people today will want to watch. It's funny, as Alan and I, a couple of years ago, we had a guest in, as a matter of fact, it was Adam Walker, who's the owner of TrekCore.com, which is a fabulous site and a resource for Star Trek that you just cannot beat. And he was visiting us from the UK. He stayed with us for about a week, and he had never seen Star Wars before, ever. I happen to own a copy of the original theatrical release of Star Wars. This is pre-Lucas's changes to the film. So we decided, oh my gosh, if you're going to watch it, you have to watch the original, and we're going to watch it together. And afterwards, we watched the film. Adam looked at us like, oh my God, are you crazy? That movie was like so freaking slow. It was so boring. I don't understand what everybody loves about it. And we were shocked, and we thought, oh my God, it really was a really slow movie. And so I'm not sure if what happened in the 90s where it was okay to have a cerebral or a slower paced show or not quite pew 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 all the way through, to now where we look at if it's not fast paced through everything.
I think you need to go back to the 80s, to the Schwarzenegger and Stallone
I blame the Matrix.
movies.
Do you?
I blame the Matrix.
I'm not sure. I mean, it kind of even goes back to where, even JJ looks back on it and thought that Star Trek was too cerebral, remember? He himself thought that it was the phrase we just can't give up on because I'll never forgive him for it, was the idea that it was a talky geek fest, that somehow was all about dialogue as opposed to action, and I like that about Star Trek, and I don't understand why we lost it.
It's all about character. It's all about character as opposed to action, and that's what makes it great, and that's why we love it, because we believe in those characters. They're real. They became flesh and blood. The new movies are very entertaining, and I enjoyed them. They're fun to watch. It's like being on a roller coaster, and it's all wonderful, but it's not realistic. And you were talking about how Star Trek coming into the present to get a modern audience. I'm watching that last one, and I'm watching Spock get into the fight with Khan, and he gets thrown all the way across a room and slams up against a wall and falls down and gets up and dusts himself off and comes back for more. Well, every bone in his body would have been broken. Yeah. He's a Vulcan. He's half human, half Vulcan. He's not a superhero. And you see them flying through space with jetpacks like they're Superman. You see them acting like Spider-Man. And it just gets into cartoons. Now, cartoons are wonderful, and Spider-Man is wonderful, but Spider-Man should be Spider-Man. Star Trek should be Star Trek.
And Star Trek it's so funny. It's so funny coming from JJ, considering who his mentor / godfather Nicholas Meyer is.
No, but I don't think that has an. Yeah, I don't. You're talking about a guy who really did love, Star Wars, and actually is gonna be freaking amazing. The new Star Wars film.
I'm so jealous of that.
But it really did. To me, what my problem was with character, and I know that one of my biggest things that made me upset was it's something that you and Kirsten were just discussing with regards to just that scene in Balance of Terror, or even the Corbomite maneuver, where you have, like she was talking about, pacing and the ability to let us understand that this is a character that's thinking through a problem, and that
plus
takes work.
It offered a moment where you can focus on Shatner looking pensive.
Well, if I remember, he in his voiceover he says, we've been sitting here for 20 hours now, and as the log is being voiced over, you see the yeoman, I hate to say it, but bringing coffee to the bridge crew and all that, and they're exhausted. And
the navigator's wiping sweat off his brow, and because the tension has just been going on for so long.
Little things that are showing the tension that's built.
But what I appreciate about that idea is that we're talking about a tactician, an intellectual.
He's a guy that gets a Orion to put a bug in a system and then eats an apple and acts like a dick.
What? Don't hold back, Nick. Tell us how you really feel.
Well, but I kind of see a trend that you could, going back from the 60s, 50s, even up to the 70s, filmmaking just had a slower pace or allowed for a slower pace. Because I remember going back and watching a lot of the classic movies, whether it's spaghetti westerns or just, all kinds of different movies. There would be scenes where it's like a crane shot and you're seeing a car drive down a dirt road or drive down a road, and it pulls into the, driveway, and you watch the person get out, walk up to the house. Today they would just do a quick cut of the car stopping in front of the house, and they cut to the guy at the door. It's like, and it was like, you could think that's wasted time, but at the same time, you're getting like a overview of what's happening. You get a sense of the pace and the scale, and I just miss those kind of shots where it's like, it's not maybe necessary to the plot or the action of the story to move it forward, but it's just, you see it like, and it kind of reminded me Lord of the Rings, where you just see them walking with the big shots, but even those were quick. You didn't linger on it.
So, David, what I just heard you say is Michael
now you
Bay
don't even
must
see
be...
the car pull up. Yeah, now the shot starts with the door opening, and there's a cop standing outside the door, and he's holding his badge up at the camera. But it's punchier. It moves. It holds our interest more. Listen, our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Very, very
and
true.
as we multitask,
the internet could be blamed for that.
Between our phones and our iPhones and everything else, we have to have this information flooding at us. And so people don't have the attention spans anymore to sit through that. But I feel bad for them because now I like fast-paced stuff, but I can watch something slower and just get into the somber feel of it and the character. You took it like look at an episode like the Doomsday Machine, and forgive me for talking about the first series, but that's my area of expertise. Great for its time, and the remastered version with the new effects, great stuff. Slicing up planets and all these things. But the moments that I remember most of that episode, from when I first saw it as a kid, was William Holden sitting in that chair playing with those tape cartridges. And when I interviewed him, he told me that he was doing Humphrey Bogart from Caine Mutiny. And him doing that is Spock is confronting him, and he finally has to back down, and he has to give up command. And he says, "The comm is yours," and he gets up out of the chair. And I felt such empathy for that character. His entire crew had died. He wants to die. He wants to join them. He wants to kill the thing that killed them, and he doesn't care if he dies doing it because he really wants to die. And that scene where he says, "I beamed them all down, and they were begging me to bring them back up, and I couldn't." Those were the moments that just live inside of me from that episode. And I can take any episode and come out with the moments. And they're always about character. They're always about emotion from that character, not about the action scenes, which I love. But the action scenes are not the strongest part of the show.
And like the kind of scenes that you just pointed out in the Doomsday Machine also point to what we talked about earlier. It's hard to show obsession, but they managed to show obsession well done because it was so well crafted.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing as I work now crafting new stories, it's never about are they going to solve the problem, right? Because there's built-in formulas to this that let us know there's going to be a solution. The only thing of interest anymore is how they do it.
Right.
So you have to show that. You have to show your work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that was one thing I loved about Ronald Moore's Battlestar Galactica. I actually didn't think they were going to solve the problem.
Well, that's a different setup, though.
Right, but I loved it because it was done so differently.
No, yeah, I think that's why a lot of people like it. But I also ultimately found it unsatisfying, but that's probably a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. We could go around and around because I think that was a great ending.
Yeah. Well,
really, for me, it started with Wrath of Khan. Now, Wrath of Khan's a great movie, and we'll all say it was the best of the movies with the original cast. But that's when they started doing all this tricking and all the gimmicks that we now see in the J.J. Abrams movies and everything else. You know, the whole thing starts, the movie starts where you see everybody on the bridge and they all die. And then the doors open and Kirk walks out. We find out it was just a game. It was just a test. And that happens a couple times in Wrath of Khan, where Kirk tricks Khan, but we don't know it. So what happened right around that time, and that was 1982, is that's when filmmakers started tricking the audience, where the characters on the screen know what's going on, but we don't, and they're going to surprise us, and they're going to fool us, and we're going to go, oh, you got me, you fooled me. Well, prior to that, as you guys have been talking about, I think it was more interesting seeing the characters sit there in the hot seat, and what are you going to do? And every eye on the bridge is on the captain, whether it's Kirk or Janeway or whoever it is. Everybody's looking at that captain like, what are you going to do? And the captain is looking back at them saying, I don't know what to do. And then suddenly this idea crosses across their face. That, to me, is more exciting than all the explosions and all the phaser fights and all the things in the world, as much as I enjoy the explosions. But don't take away the meat, you know? I mean, let's have a good solid meal before we get to the dessert.
Well, talking about, like David talked about with the car driving up and getting out and walking to the door and all that. Kirsten, I'm interested to what you thought or think of Star Trek the Motion Picture, because it actually has grown on me as the years have gone by.
You're talking about V'ger?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always really liked that movie a lot. I haven't seen it in a while, but I mean, I know it's long, but again, I was with them the whole time in terms of the ideas and the difficulty of the task at hand. You know what I mean? It never, I don't know, I like it. I'm guilty of loving Wrath of Khan, but I've never had a lot of the same complaints with the first one that I think a lot of people have.
I think a lot of the complaints about the movie are purely because of generational issues and age. It wasn't because we didn't love it at the time. I think we all adored it when it came out. I remember when the movie first came out, it was seriously the best thing since sliced bread. And it was just one of those things that, because of style and because of pacing, didn't age as well as maybe some of the other films had. But at the same time, now I look back on it with such fondness, like I do with other films from that period, which is they are slower paced. They are allowed that breathing time, as you put it. And I have a new appreciation for them. The one movie that keeps
I think a lot of
changing
people do. I
me,
think we're reassessing it. Yeah.
Yeah, the one movie that keeps changing for me and has moved up 6 is Undiscovered Country.
Oh, yeah.
That is a movie that continuously gets better and better and better with age, and probably because of my age. I'm sure that younger kids don't care for it as much and would probably love like 4.
Well,
right?
it also captures a moment in time for us because we were there for the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
So it captures a moment in time for us, too.
I'm sorry, real quick. There's a new trend going on right now in television where they are taking films or basically small moments in film, and they are expanding them into television series. Larger arcs. They've done it with Fargo. They've done it with From Dusk Till Dawn and several others. And Star Trek VI is one of those films that I think can totally support a series like that, and I would love to see someone tackle that and recreate that film as a television series.
Yeah,
really dig into the politics.
Guys,
yep.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you talk, and I was so happy to hear Kristen and a couple of you others say that you've reassessed the first Star Trek movie and you find it better, like it better. I do too. When I started working on this 4th book, which covers that period of time, I watched it for the first time in 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And I liked it when it came out. Of course, we'd all waited several years to have another fix of Star Trek. So we all went in wanting to like it, but it did come out right on the heels of Star Wars.
Yeah, that it did.
Space Odyssey. It was slower. It was more intellectual. It was not a fun adrenaline rush. Well, when I watched it last year, as I was writing about it, and for this book that will be coming up, I wasn't in a hurry to get to the end of it. I think when we saw it the first time, it's like, we want to know where it's going. We want to know what the plot is doing. Well, we all know the ending now. So I'm just sitting there watching it, and I'm thinking, my God, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautifully photographed. The music by Jerry Goldsmith, I think he did the music. I mean, just incredible. And even the scenes that I found kind of boring when I first saw it on the screen, you know, hovering over V'ger and everything and going through the clouds or whatever they are, you know, were just gorgeous, and the music was wonderful. And I'm sitting there, and I hadn't even been smoking anything, and I'm sitting there watching this thing, and I'm just feeling like, you know, I'm just on this trip watching this thing, and thinking this is actually pretty good. But I had this memory of it being too slow. I don't feel that anymore.
You know,
and you're talking about Star Trek 6. You know, when we first saw Star Trek 6, I think one of the problems we had more, and they look young compared to how they look now. So we see Star Trek 6 now, and we're not hung up on that.
Yeah.
And so we can get past that. We can just look at the story that's being told and the passion in which it's being told, and appreciate the things that we were not seeing when we first went and saw it. We all enjoyed it, but I think we were distracted by other things and not really watching the movie that closely.
One of the only things that really, I don't want to say bothers me, but that feels dated at all about the motion picture is the costumes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt. Mark, you're periodically cutting out. I think we are pushing Skype a little hard. You're welcome to continue hanging out with us, but I think we need to restart the call.
We need to reset?
I think we need to reset.
Well, the thing with when he cut out for me, I was watching the TeamSpeak, and all of the blue lights that are on right now all cut out.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just Skype or if it's TeamSpeak.
I don't think it was Skype. I think it was all of TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
I think it was the server.
No problem.
All right, let's reset.
Okay.
So
we're about to take a musical break.
Pretty much.
Let's take a musical break. I'm going to actually close down everything.
The stream? Okay.
Yeah, so Mark, once we get everything else reestablished, okay?
Okay.
So
I'm going to head out, okay?
Have
Kirsten,
great,
thank you
Kirsten,
so
thank you
much
so
for
much for
staying
joining
with
us.
Yes,
no worries. It was
wonderful.
a blast.
And
thank you.
We'll try and do this again another time when you can do it, because there's so much we can talk about with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm happy to come back.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Take care. Bye.
All right, I'm gonna reboot my TeamSpeak as well, because it's been going for like 29 hours now. Or
yeah. Okay.
I think that's what we need to do. Okay.
Music for the GNT show is provided by 5 Year Mission, Enterprise Blues Band, Warp 11, Andrew Allen, and Greth Thor. The GNT show is a BLB production.
Move ahead, walk factor 10. Put a mini skirt on my yo man. Represent the human race. And we make space a happy place. To boldly go where no man's gone before. I think I've sang that line once before, but I'm not too sure. We'll be so happy, can't you see? take a tour with me. There'll be no cons or Kobe.